Somebody call a doctor because bad medicine is back. Over there is Diamond Dave Damone. This is the Appleton Oak. That's the answer. I'm Mason Quinn. Folks, today we are wrapping up Band of Brothers. This is episode 10 points, and this has been a wild ride for me to watch these gentlemen watch this for the first time. As you may or may not know, this is one that I own the DVDs. I've seen it multiple times. I love it. So for me, this rewatch has been really incredible, watching it with some first timers and all of you.
Yeah, this has been a great watch. It's so sad to see it go, but it has been well done, and I'm ready, willing, and able to watch the final episode.
Yeah, I mean, even getting before getting into this final episode, I can say without any doubts that this is absolutely one of the greatest television series that has ever been produced, which of course is what it was touted as coming into it. Not that I doubted that for a second, knowing that Hanks and Spielberg were involved and so many other talented people, but this has truly been an incredible experience, and I'm very anxious to see this final episode and how they wrap it up.
Yeah, looking forward to how they wrap episode 10 here with this amazing story of Easy Company. Let's go!
Not doing the interviews?
I was just going to say,
maybe they put them at the end for this one?
I would imagine now they got to be at the end. No spoilers, Quinn.
Well, this was July. They said 1945.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been 2 months after VE Day.
It was more than 3 years since Lewis Nixon and I decided to join the paratroops. And more than a year since we'd first gone to war, not knowing what would happen to us. I certainly didn't expect to find myself at a place like this.
I thought it might be you. I heard reports about a red-headed Eskimo.
Come to join me for a morning swim?
Yeah. You know me so well. Here, this was Zelensky.
Ran into the regimental photographer. Said he had all these photographs of the 506. Going all the way back to Toccoa. I traded them for a couple of Lugers.
That's a bargain.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
That's awesome.
What do you think you'll do after this?
I get some breakfast.
No, after.
Good timing.
Well, it's funny you should mention it, because I had a meeting with Colonel Sink. He had discussed the possibility of staying.
In the Army?
Yeah, as a career.
What'd you say?
I said I'd think about it.
What do you think about New Jersey? There's a company in Nixon, New Jersey. It's called Nixon Nitration Works.
It sounds picturesque.
Oddly enough, I know the owners. Probably gonna expect me to make something of myself. I thought maybe I'd drag you with me.
Are you offering me a job?
We'll see how you do in your interview, but...
Yeah, I'll think about it. I really appreciate it.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Boy, it doesn't get much more beautiful than that.
No.
I was still getting used to hot showers and morning swims.
Man, after everything he's been through, how could he give up this routine?
This famous town high in the Alps was the Nazi Party's symbolic home. Although Hitler was dead, he had apparently ordered the SS to make it their last stand from which to mount a guerrilla resistance against the Allied advance. The first step was blocking the roads.
It's quite the block.
Yeah.
The engineers to arrive.
Half an hour ago?
We're stuck here until they do, Nix.
Well, if you're the SS, you're not gonna let us waltz into Hitler's house. Probably throw a few rocks at us yourself.
I'm gonna find another way up that mountain. Easy Company is ready and willing.
Duly noted. I already recommended you to Colonel Sink.
Terrific. Let's go find out where Hitler lived.
Jeez.
Yes.
Yes, I just...
Run.
Told him I understood his point. Now, you fire up 2nd Battalion and outflank that French son of a bitch.
Yes, sir.
All right, there you go.
One easy company in the lead. Have the men assembled down on the Autobahn.
Yes, sir.
Many natives.
That's because this is the one town you can't deny being a true Nazi.
What do you mean?
Well, you have to be to live here.
Need to find some place we can put the colonel.
How about right there?
Oh.
Wow.
Like that shot of Nick's.
No.
Wow.
Ooh.
How many brides get a wedding present from Hitler?
Oh,
You want to take half? I can't carry all this. You know, whoever comes in here after is going to take whatever isn't nailed down.
Well, wouldn't want that to happen.
Interesting.
I don't even think about it.
of course, Spears.
Gee, maybe he can find something else, like anywhere.
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty.
He's already sent so much home already, too.
Harry, have F Company put a double guard on the hotel, set up roadblocks on the west side of town. 1 Battalion HQ, seal off the north side and prepare for prisoners.
Sergeant Grant.
And Harry, nobody gets hurt, not now. Easy, you'll head up the mountain through the Ober-Salzburg. Take the Eagle's Nest.
Ah. All the way back to the first episode.
The Eagle's Nest was a surprise birthday present for Hitler, built with Nazi party money. A mountaintop stone retreat, 8,000 feet up, accessible by a gold-plated elevator.
Imagine being the first American soldiers to step foot in there.
I can't imagine that. The feeling and emotions these guys must have been going through first time.
Yeah, I mean,
experiencing
you're
this.
so close to the end. You're so close to going home.
Oh, jeez.
Here's to him.
Well, damn.
Wow.
Could you gotta imagine all those photos were taken and
Yep.
Hitler. No.
Oh, look at that view.
We made ourselves at home. Love what you done with the place. Hey, have a drink. Come on. Just so as we can say we saw you do it.
Listen up. From Corps just came in, effective immediately. All troops stand fast on present positions. Want to hear it? Ready for it? Listen up. German army surrendered.
That's it.
I got a present for you. Come on.
Is it? Yeah?
Oh,
Just imagine hearing that. Just so it got the feet up.
champagne.
it's so crazy with the mountains in the background.
What is this place? Herman Goering's house?
We discovered it yesterday.
What is in there?
Look how Nixon's still wearing his aviators.
So he could do that shot. Whoa.
Far that hallway goes.
I was just gonna say, did you see
10,000
that?
bottles of the world's finest liquor, wine, and champagne.
Oh.
LPZ Company marked the day the war in Europe came to an end.
It's all yours. Take what you want and have each company take a truckload. We're heading for Austria in the morning, but don't feel you have to leave anything here for whoever comes next.
Austria, sir.
Happy VE Day.
Yeah. Victory in Europe.
Did it say July in the beginning or was it May?
July of 1945, I thought.
Wow.
Instead of an aggressive combat unit, we became an occupation force. And no one wanted to leave Berchtesgaden until they saw Austria.
Yeah. Imagine if, like, you kept that wine and you saved it. Or any of that liquor.
Yeah.
If I would have been a soldier, I would have had, like, a sip of it each year to celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to beat Austria for beauty.
You reckon they'll make us run up those or ski down them?
Jeez. Both.
Well, and, think about so many of these guys are, from New York, New Jersey, whatever. They've never seen anything like this in their life,
Wisconsin.
Right.
The war is over.
Stop the truck.
Man, do they even touch craftsmanship like that anymore on mansions and houses? Like, I mean,
We'll be
I'm sure there's
here.
a very slim few.
Oh, just imagine walking out the door to that.
I wonder what will happen to us, to people like you and me, when there are finally no more wars to occupy us.
Have all your men collect the weapons, deposit them at the church, the school, and at the airfield.
Very well. Please accept this as my formal surrender, Major. It is better than to lay it on the desk of a clerk.
You may keep your sidearm, Colonel.
Heroic dead. Have I come by?
what a scene
That's-
that was.
Pretty powerful.
So, when are we going?
We don't have a date yet. I don't know how long we're waiting here for orders, but I want those veterans who are staying, all new replacements ready to fight. That means rifle ranges. That means daily close order drills. That means troop reviews, but above all, it means physical training. Get your NCOs on it.
They're gonna love you.
Say you had your one day off and now back to it.
What are you crouching down for, Perko? Steer's gonna shoot back.
Leave me alone.
Let Shifty kill us some dinner.
What's the matter, Bull? You tired of eating dried up spuds 3 times a day?
Hey, you know what? I got an idea. Why don't we just shoot Bull here, feed the company for a week?
Oh, boy. Oh.
Oh, God damn it, Shifty. You let him get away. Army ought to be glad to be rid of you.
Seems they want me to stay around a while.
You serious?
How many points you need? 15? 15? Jesus Christ, I thought I had it bad. No Purple Hearts, never was injured.
Company!
He didn't seem to want to pull that trigger.
That's, I think, what it was.
Yeah.
Pulled the trigger enough.
General Taylor is aware that many veterans, including Normandy veterans, still do not have the 85 points required to be discharged. On this, the anniversary of D-Day, he has authorized a lottery to send one man home in each company, effective immediately.
So this wasn't started in May, because this would have been June 6th. I read that wrong in the beginning.
Come on.
Here's Tom.
Serial number 130-66266. Sergeant Darrell C. Powers.
Oh, Shifty
Nice.
gets to go home.
Congratulations, Shifty.
Sergeant Grant will see to it that 2nd Platoon takes over at the Crossroads checkpoint, beginning tonight at 2200 hours. General Taylor has also announced that the 101st Airborne Division will definitely be redeployed to the Pacific. Beginning tomorrow at 0600 hours, we will begin training to go to war.
Man.
Pretty much says it all.
Don't mean to interrupt you, sir. I just wanted to, say goodbye. You know, it's been a long time.
You got everything you need?
Yes, sir. I gathered up my loot. Pistols, mainly. Back home in Virginia, well, I just don't rightly know how I'm going to explain all this.
You're a hell of a fine soldier, Shifty. There's nothing more to explain.
Thank you, sir.
2 days later, Shifty Powers was on a truck headed for the rear and a boat home. Unfortunately, the truck was hit head-on by a drunken corporal from another regiment. Shifty had a broken pelvis, a broken arm, and a bad concussion.
Jeez.
I wish I could say that he was our only casualty in Austria.
Made up my mind, Nix. I got the points. I'm going back to Kitty.
Harry, do you really think that Kitty hasn't run off with some 4F by now?
That's not even funny.
Harry, ignore him.
How am I supposed to tell her I had the chance to come home to her, finally? Decided not to, so I could go jump on Tokyo.
All right, so don't tell her. She's waited for you for 3 years, right? We'll be to Tokyo and back in 2 years, 3 tops.
Oh, jeez.
Guts and Glory here applied for a transfer.
What?
13th Airborne and heading out for the Pacific right away. If I'm going, I want to get it over with.
Huh.
Are you in on this too?
I can't let him go by himself. He doesn't know where it is.
You're leaving the men?
They don't need me anymore.
Wow. That's... I wasn't expecting that.
So you were given command of the company on D-Day?
That's right.
Oh, this was so crazy.
In Holland, they bumped you to Battalion XO.
Yes, sir.
Bastards took your company away.
How do you respond to that?
I fired my last shots there.
Well, the whole damn war.
Yes, sir.
You got through Bastogne without having to fire your weapon.
That is correct, sir.
Looking to have your own division someday?
No, sir.
Not gonna make a career in the Army?
No. Yeah, I don't know, sir.
Let me tell you something, son. You've done enough. And frankly, I think your men have earned the right to keep you around.
Oh, wow. He's denying the transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Thank you, sir.
Wow.
It's in the fucking room, Webb. One of those Polacks what was at the slave camp said this is where the guy lives, right here.
Which camp?
Whatever camp. Under direct orders, and I'm happy to follow it.
Oh, they had to find the guys who were the Germans.
Is this personal to you?
No, it's a goddamn order.
What if this guy's just a soldier? What if he's innocent?
You know what? What if he's a fucking Nazi commandant of a slave camp?
Which one? Which camp? You don't have any proof.
Were you at Landsberg?
You know I was.
You think he's a soldier like you and me? An innocent German officer? Where the hell have you been for the past 3 years?
Oh.
Wer sind Sie? Was machen Sie hier?
What?
Gehen Sie hinaus.
Sie sind der Kommandant vom Arbeitslager.
Ich weiß von keinem Arbeitslager. Nein, nein, nein. Hier reinkommen.
You did it! Nicht hier reinkommen! Nein, nein! Bitte nicht sagen! Bitte!
Just waiting for that gunshot.
That's what I'm waiting for, too.
He's guilty. Lead gut says so. He probably is.
Man.
Shoot him!
No.
Whoa.
Summer in this alpine paradise should have been a welcome relief, especially now that we were at peace with the Germans. Everyone just wanted to go home.
Hey, Webster! My relief. Anyway, I got me a new one. Japs, 75 points. How about you? I mean, you're a Toccoa guy, right? How many you got?
Wouldn't you like to know? See about getting you a ride.
Hey!
Sometimes the look on Webster, I just can't tell.
I know. It's a hard guy to read.
Uh-oh.
No!
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, no.
Private Janowek.
Oh.
He was dead when they brought him in. 75 points. He was 10 points short.
The enemy had surrendered, but somehow men were still dying. Young men who wanted to be home with their families by now, who'd served with distinction since before Normandy, were stuck here because they didn't have the points. What they did have plenty of were weapons, alcohol, and too much time on their hands.
Get out of this harness. You okay, Matt? You need some help?
Mm.
They wouldn't give me any gas. Krauts. This lime, he wouldn't listen. I think he was a major.
Oh.
Do you have any gas? Why don't you give me a weapon? Well, I guess I'll just use his jiba. I don't think he's going to be needing it. Hold on a second now, right?
Oh
my God!
Oh my God.
To go through all that.
He's not gonna make it. You'd need a brain surgeon, and even if you had one, I don't think there's any hope.
You find the shooter. I want him alive. Come on, help me.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna go find a brain surgeon.
Try and take him alive.
Where's Grant now?
They took him to a crowd hospital, said they could drum up any good doctors.
Unreal, man.
Come with me.
Why?
Get in the Jeep.
Where are we going?
To the hospital. Get in.
If you're going to shoot me, shoot me. If you're not, put the gun away.
Get in the Jeep now.
What happened to him?
He was shot in the head half hour ago.
If you want him to live, you'll help me. First, by putting that away.
Oh, is this Spears?
Where is it? How's Grant? Where is it? You okay?
Holy shit, what is gonna happen?
Is him? That's him. Where's the weapon? What?
Oh.
When you talk to an officer, you say sir.
What a shot of malarkey there.
Mm-hmm.
Have the MPs take care of this piece of shit.
Grant's dead?
No. Crowd surgeon says he's gonna make it.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
If it's not going to put you in too much of a bind, I'd like to resign as company first sergeant. If I have my choice, I miss being back amongst the men. I'd be happy to go to staff sergeant, whichever platoon you want to put me in.
Well, I guess you've earned your right to demote yourself.
Thank you, sir.
You want to take over Sergeant Grant's platoon?
That would do fine, sir.
All right, then report to Lieutenant Peacock.
Oh, sir, you make your decision yet?
Yeah, I did. I know Easy Company's gonna need a commanding officer post-war, somebody to hold their hand, keep them from killing each other. It better be somebody who knows what they're doing. Yep, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's absolutely irresponsible to leave them in the hands of the wrong person. They're too much of a valuable resource to the military.
So you decided to stay in the Army?
Yes, I'm gonna stay with the men.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. So some of us would stay by choice, but others were stuck here unless we could find excuses to send them away.
So it's an airborne exhibition. They have one of every Allied combat plane they've used in the war. Sorry, it's not a more hospitable location.
No, sir. Paris is just fine. If you need me to go, and someone has to be there.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do. And your driver will drop you off at a hotel of your choice. And I don't think we'll see you back here anytime soon.
God, imagine saying goodbye after all that time.
Carwood, yes. I wanted to say, as you probably know, the Army, when they give a man a battlefield commission, make him an officer. They usually don't let him stay with the same company.
Sir, I figured this was coming.
Yeah. They're afraid the men won't show him the proper degree of respect as they would another officer. It's a good theory, sir. You've given me the choice as to where to reassign you, and I thought battalion headquarters might be a good place.
I can think of a few better, sir.
Good. Right now, down at the airfield, there is a German general who was a little PO'd about having to surrender to Private Babe Heffron from South Philly. I thought Second Lieutenant Carwood Lipton from West Virginia could soothe his ruffled feathers.
No problem, sir. Major, is this the type of job I can expect from now on?
Yeah. Yeah, when we're not sunning ourselves by the lake.
It's like he's trying to get as many guys
Yep.
out that he
And
can.
get them to order good spots if you can't get them completely out.
Yep.
With your permission, I would like to address my men briefly.
That'll be fine, General.
Oh,
well, look who's back. It turns the other way.
Captain Sobel?
Major Winters?
Captain Sobel, we salute the rank, not the man.
Oh.
Männer!
Man, it's been a long war. It's been a tough war.
Ihr habt tapfer und stolz für euer Vaterland gekämpft.
We fought bravely, proudly for your country.
Die ineinander einen,
We found in one another a bond
wie sich nur im Kampf entwickeln kann.
that exists only in combat.
Und gemeinsam gelitten haben.
We've seen death and suffered together.
Mit euch gedient zu haben.
I'm proud to have served with each and every one of you.
Sie alle verdienen ein langes und glückliches Leben in Frieden.
You deserve long and happy lives in peace.
Tom. Take a look at these two kids. What the hell happened to them? You awake yet? Wake? Time to go to bed.
Ah!
Buck.
Oh.
Buck Compton came back to see the company to let us know that he was all right.
Nice.
He became a prosecutor in Los Angeles. He convicted Sirhan in the murder of Robert Kennedy and was later appointed to the California Court of Appeals.
Wow.
Webster became a writer for the Saturday Evening Post and Wall Street Journal, and later wrote a book about sharks. In 1961, he went out on the ocean alone and was never seen again.
Oh,
wow.
Johnny Martin would return to his job at the railroad and then start his own construction company. He splits his time between Arizona and a place in Montana. George Luz became a handyman in Providence, Rhode Island. As a testament to his character, 1,600 people attended his funeral in 1998. Doc Rowe died in Louisiana in 1998. Frank Vercani returned to Chicago and worked a postal route as a mailman. Joe Liebgott returned to San Francisco and drove his cab. He was one of the best soldiers I ever had. He went into the earth-moving business in Arkansas. He's still there. Alton Moore returned to Wyoming with a unique souvenir. Hitler's personal photo albums. He was killed in a car accident in 1958.
Oh,
wow.
How we lived our lives after the war was as varied as each man. Carwood Lipton became a glass-making executive in charge of factories all over the world. He has a nice life in North Carolina. Harry Welsh, he married Kitty Grogan. Ronald Spears stayed in the Army, served in Korea, in 1958 returned to Germany as governor of Spandau Prison. He retired a lieutenant colonel.
Easy company! School circle!
For Easy Company, it was D-Day plus 434.
Fast man would have had it, Burko. Got some news. This morning, President Truman received the unconditional surrender from the Japanese. War's over.
Regardless of points, medals, or wounds, each man in the 101st Airborne would be going home. Each of us would be forever connected by our shared experience, and each would have to rejoin the world as best he could. My friend Lou died in 1995. I took up his job offer and was a personnel manager at the Nixon Nitration Works until I was called back into service in 1950 to train officers and rangers. I chose not to go to Korea. I'd had enough of war. There is not a day that goes by that I do not think of the men I served with who never got to enjoy the world without war.
It's a very unusual feeling. And it's a very unusual bonding.
We knew that we could depend on each other. And so we were a close-knit group.
Just brave, so brave is unbelievable. And I don't know anybody that I admire more than Bill Garnier and Joe Toy. And they were very, very special.
I'm just one part of the big war, that's all. One little part.
Well,
made it.
Kind of knew that one, right?
Sometimes it makes me cry.
The real men, the real heroes, are the fellas that are still buried over there and those that come home to be buried.
Seemed like you figured that you thought that you could do just about anything. And after the war was over and you came back out, you lost a lot of that. Or at least I did. I lost all that confidence.
We was hoping to stay alive, that's all. Mm-hmm.
Henry V was talking to his men. He said, from this day to the ending of the world, we in it shall be remembered. We lucky few, we band of brothers. For he who today sheds his blood with me shall be my brother.
Do you remember the letter that Mike Ranney wrote me? Do you remember how he ended it? I cherish the memories of a question my grandson asked me the other day when he said, Grandpa, were you a hero in the war? Grandpa said no, but I served in a company of heroes.
Damn good. Band of Brothers, gentlemen.
All right. Wow, that was, that never gets easy, that ending. I've seen this one, I don't know, 5, 6, a dozen times, the series, and every time that ending and the second half of points, it never gets any easier every time. But, a few things, and I'll do my quick bit here and then kick it over to the guys who haven't seen it. But a couple of things that really stood out to me every time I watch it, and kind of the big parts for me, and maybe it'll be different for these guys. But when Shifty is in the woods with Bull and everybody else, and they're hunting for the deer, and, Shifty was the best shot they had, and he could have easily taken down that deer if he wanted to. And the way that he was portrayed in there, like he just had enough of it, man. He just didn't want to take anything else out. And that leading into the conversation that he has with Winters, where he's such an interesting character because, the actor they chose for him was so perfect, because they almost in that scene with Winters make him vulnerable. I mean, his voice is very soft and he's very, I guess polite, it would be the word with Winters. And, it's just like, man, it truly was men from all over, the country of different stripes, I guess you'd say, and they were all so incredibly different. But that whole scene with Shifty is one that really sticks with me. And then the scene with the German general where he's addressing his men, basically saying the same thing that Winters might very well say to his men, given, the situation. So those were the two big scenes that jumped out at me. And then just, of course, we get the wrap up kind of at the end about how some of the men rejoined society and how their lives took them in different directions. And of course, finally getting the reveal at the end with who the real men were. In the beginning, they actually named them. So, Garnier, I think everybody maybe had an idea of who that was. Just you're not going to miss that accent, but just the series gets better and better every time I watch it.
Yeah, this was amazingly done. Amazing how they put this together, how they told the stories of all these men of Easy Company, and I really love the fact that they put the interviews in at the end to give us a kind of their final words on what all transpired over the D-Day plus 434 is how he put it at the end, because they went through a lot together. And very poignant at the end where he said, where he told his grandson he wasn't a hero, but he served with heroes. Because we saw throughout these 10 episodes, each person had their place, each person had their purpose in Easy Company. And that's where I liked how they didn't just have it follow Winters and maybe someone else, which, I mean, he was the main character, don't get me wrong, but they made sure that they incorporated everyone from having your medical personnel to Lipton to everyone else have their inner monologue of what they had been going through with the war and different battles and scenes like that. And, I had to look it up because I never really talk to my grandpa about it, but he was in the Army and he joined in 1947. So he wasn't quite old enough. Otherwise, my grandpa would have probably been right there in this thick of things. But he joined in 47 and he was actually stationed in Japan. And, I never really talked about that stuff with my grandpa. I kind of knew he was in the military. I wasn't sure what military and stuff like that, because then my cousin and my brother then went into the military. So, and I think they looked at my grandfather for his going into war, being selfless and serving his country. And I think that's what my cousin and my brother then chose to do as well. And yeah, so he, just like my brother, was very fortunate that they missed, this war by, a little over a year. I'm not exactly sure which date he joined, but yeah, he joined in 47 and was served in Japan. But this show was amazingly done, brilliantly acted. We saw that there was a little bit brighter colors in this one because it was finally over, but then they still had Japan, and we're still worried about whether they were going to go there or not, and they're hoping they had the right points. But then you still had some mishaps where some soldiers unfortunately passed on as well. So at that point, it's like, we got to get these guys home as soon as we possibly can. So really well done, and the ending was just amazing, and it was also more powerful to hear the words from the actual soldiers themselves.
Yeah, this was incredible. I'm not sure if it's going to make the cut, but I mentioned right in the beginning that hey, we didn't have the interviews, and I think we all kind of collectively took a second to think maybe they're going to bring those at the end, and I'm glad they did. We finally got to put some names with some faces, and that was incredibly emotional. It's one thing to see interviews with the veterans and hear them speak, and that's always so powerful. But throughout the journey of this series, you feel like you get connected to these gentlemen, and so to be able to actually put a name to the face was very powerful. I'm glad they finished it off the way they did. Things weren't, after VE Day in May, things weren't, all just, there was happy, and sure, they were happy the war was over, but there was still a lot of angst about, what was going to happen over in the Pacific, a lot of not knowing, as we saw some accidents, and you have to just imagine how difficult that must have been for the men, and especially for their families back home, to know that they survived everything from D-Day to Bastogne, and they died in these accidents, and how just tragic that is, that these just absolute heroes, that's how they met their end before being able to go back home to their families. So it was powerful. The waiting to see if they had to go over to the Pacific must have been very difficult. It's interesting with this series. Shortly after we started this, I was at a family function with my uncle, who was in the Army during Vietnam, and I talked to him. It's weird. I talked to my uncle more at that family get-together in one sit-down than I think I have at any one point in my entire life, and it was because of this series. He was grilling up burgers, and I said, I told him, we're watching this series for the channel, and he said, I'm familiar. And I said, I was far too young, obviously, to ask Grandpa questions about war. And I asked, my uncle, I said, because you served in the Army, I said, I wonder if there's things that Grandpa told you that he didn't tell my mom and the 3 other sisters, just him being a fellow veteran. And there wasn't really much. A few more stories, but nothing really more. And even with my uncle being a fellow soldier, my grandpa still didn't really want to talk to him about the war. So it was, but we it was weird. Me and my uncle, that we have a good relationship, but I've never talked to him this much in my life. And we ended up getting to talking about his service during when Vietnam was going on and everything that he witnessed and stuff like that. And it was pretty powerful. The one story that I'd never heard of my grandpa, which is, I'll share it here. I don't know how many more World War II things we'll be doing right away, or certainly not those where I, feel like it's time to share. But he worked in an airfield at times where the planes were coming back from bombing raids and support missions and things like that. And he told my uncle about, the planes were shot up and coming back to the airfield. And he said a lot of them didn't have landing gear. A lot of them, the engines were all blown to hell. And we sat there on the ground watching these planes come in, and some of them landed. And as some of them came back in, we knew they weren't going to be able to land. And we sat on the ground absolutely helpless, knowing that there was other young men, teenagers on those planes that made it out of the air battle, that were coming back to base, and we knew they were going to crash and pass away. And we watched our fellow soldiers crash and die right in front of us, and there was nothing we could do. So that was a story that I'd never heard. I'm 44, and my mom, who just turned 75, had never heard that story. So that was a story that my grandfather only told my uncle, who was also in the Army, and I heard that story recently because we watched this series, and I decided to talk to my uncle about it. So it was, I learned a little bit more about my grandpa's time in the war because of this series. And the one other thing that I learned that I found to be the most interesting is my grandfather's unit, which ties into this episode. My grandfather's unit was set to go over to the Pacific 3 days after Japan surrendered. So he was days away from going to the Pacific before the first bomb was dropped. And he told my uncle that they were scared to death. They'd heard stories, of course, of the things that happened in Okinawa and Iwo Jima and the rest of the battles that were over there. And my grandpa was set to go to, he was one of the ones that was set to go over to the Pacific, and he was supposed to leave just a few days after the first bomb was dropped. So it was interesting knowing that that's part of my family history, is having a World War II veteran that was over there in this same situation, just waiting, of course, waiting from May until August, a couple of months, just not knowing what lie ahead. So it was interesting having a little bit of, I guess, in any way I can say it, a family kind of tie to what the story being told here was. But this was such a phenomenal series. I'm so glad that it was in the hands of people like Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. That's not to say that anybody else who did a World War II documentary wouldn't have taken the same care with the stories as they did, but I think they did a particularly phenomenal job of telling the story, doing it with emotion, doing it with respect, and really doing it in a manner that I think this is as close to experiencing something like that. The way they shot things, and the color and the grittiness and the camera work and everything. It wasn't, and I know it's, look, I'm not, nobody ever sitting behind a TV screen or hearing a story is going to know what it was like to be there, but you felt some small sense of connection with these guys, I guess you could say. But this was phenomenal. I guess I'm glad in a sense that I haven't seen it before. And the reason why I'm glad that I hadn't seen it before is because this particular medium in which we're watching it, a reaction channel with these guys presented me with an opportunity to sit down and talk about it, how it made me feel, how I felt about it. Had I watched this when it came out, I probably just would have been at home and sitting there afterwards by myself being like, holy shit, And doing it in this capacity on the Reaction channel not only gave me a chance to sit down and share my thoughts with these guys, but with everybody out there, and of course get the incredible feedback that you guys have had, the stories. Some of you guys in the comments, guys and girls, have shared incredible stories about your grandparents and your family members who have served in the war. So for as much as part of me always had to say no, I've never seen Band of Brothers, I've never seen it. I'm glad that that this was my first time watch, and I was able to talk my feelings through about the series, and I can't say enough about it. Easily one of the greatest, if not the greatest, television series ever made.
Yeah, this was, probably, again, for context, I'm the guy of the crew that never really watched any war films or any war TV shows, just because it wasn't something I was always attracted to for storytelling or even, in this case, real life events, right? So now finally experiencing this with you guys, glad I went on this journey, because there was a lot of eye-opening things in there. Like we said in, I think, one of the first few episodes, I can't remember which spot it was, but we were like, oh, never heard that before in school or heard anyone talk about that. And then some of you kind of came into the comments, educated us, so appreciate stuff like that. With this particular episode, it was interesting that we got, they showed a little respect to the Germans, right, when they gave up there. Even the moment with Winters, by telling that colonel he could keep his peace.
Yep.
I guess I wasn't expecting, not that they wouldn't give respect, but I wasn't sure how much they were going to show of that. Yeah. So I'm glad they did show that there was still a little respect after everything both sides just went through. What I found really intriguing in this episode was it wasn't all bells and whistles of happiness. It was showing the men, even though the war was just about wrapped, some of them were still at war with themselves. And unfortunately, as we saw in here, I can only imagine what other kind of stories there were, but the stories that they showed in here, that was impactful to me out of the episode. Not even just the war was over, just seeing how some of the men were battling themselves after this because of the unknown of what after, or the trauma that they just currently went through for however long it's been for them. So I thought that was one of the most impactful things in here. And then, of course, the ending, as you gentlemen said, finally getting a name to the face. It makes 1,000% sense now why they weren't doing names in the previous episodes, because they were saving it for the end here. Really impactful speeches at the end. Glad they saved it for this episode 2, putting them at the end to send us home with this story. So I can't say just nothing but praise for everyone that was involved in front of and behind the camera. Everyone did phenomenal. I can see why a lot of folks do, when they speak about this series, it's always high praise about the series. With scoring, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I don't score. I just say I would highly recommend it. And I want to thank all of you, because again, I won't ever get tired of saying this. If it was not for this reaction channel, I still would not have seen this and many other things. So thank you to all of you for constantly pushing it. So thank you. Again, tip of the hat to everyone involved in this series. It was powerful, impactful. If you haven't seen it and you were a Diamond Dave and like, nah, I'll get to it.
Nah.
Trust me when I say, hopefully you are going to see it some way, somehow down the road. You won't regret it.
Yeah, one of the things that I found really fascinating too about this episode is we had the bright colors, we had the beautiful backdrop of Austria. We had all that, and you knew the war was over, essentially, right? But there was still the tension throughout the whole episode. Is something bad going to happen? Every time there was at night and somebody was in a Jeep or something was going on, you didn't really know. You had accidents from a simple barrel that fell off a truck. You had the drunk GI did what he did. we had the crew going in and finding the soldier up in the hills there in his cabin. So you had all these different things happening, but you didn't know how it was going to play out. And so amongst this beautiful backdrop, you still had all this tension of, are some men still going to have to go and fight in the Pacific? You had that. Who's it going to be? Who's going to go? And that was what was so brilliant. Like, you wanted to relax and take a breath and, have a few jokes, about, whatever they're sending home and that sort of thing, and jobs they're going back to, girlfriends they might be going back to. But, there was still that element of tension throughout the episode, and you couldn't, at least I couldn't totally relax until we got to the interviews with the actual men who were there. And then it's like, all right, now I can just take in the story and I can take a breath and relax a little bit, because it said this is GOAT status for me. This series is as good as it gets, and a lot of fun. So this is just another check mark for me watching it again. Again, like you said, Oak, a totally different experience though, because again, no interruptions. We're here, headphones. We're doing it, for the channel and for all of you. So it is a different experience. And I still catch things in this series that I didn't notice the first few times around. And this is one that, it can be a hard watch, but it's a really good one to watch, and even multiple times. And, and then of course there's all the side research, right? There's the documentaries that have been made about these men, all the different stories, thanks to the internet and, how military records are now online. People can find out a lot more information and kind of dive into the stories. So, something to remember, when this came out in 2001, those type of things weren't as readily available, I don't think, to the public as what they might be now. So now we have this great opportunity to dive in and see even more about this, because, it can be said over and over, the number of movies and books and television shows you could do on World War I, World War II are endless. You would never run out of stories that could be told that would be incredibly captivating and powerful. So I'm glad I got to take the ride with these guys and with all of you again.
Yeah, this was an impactful, powerful series. Great job by Spielberg and Hanks. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching this with us. This was amazing. So for Diamond Dave, Appleton Oak, that's Mason Quinn. I'm, of course, the Answer. Good night, pals.